Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Goals Podcast. I'm Dawn, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. This podcast is dedicated to bringing people's stories to light and hearing their journeys of inspiration and self-growth. But it's also about connection and knowing that you are not alone. Each week, I get the chance to sit down and talk with an amazing soul, someone I've had the blessing of either meeting or following in my life. I am so grateful for my guests. Their openness and their vulnerability, it is unmatched as we share heartfelt conversations together about both their challenges and their triumphs. I hope that you can grab some inspiration and connection from my guests and their stories. I know I certainly have with each conversation. What an honor to sit with these brave souls. Everyone has a story, folks. And every story matters. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Soul Goals. I am Dawn, and today I have an amazing guest. I always say it, amazing, because they are. They have great stories and great backgrounds. But today I have my friend, Maureen Murphy from Nashville, Tennessee, but originally from Cape Cod. Shout out Cape Cod, right?
Hey, yes.
She's from that Eastern area. She attended Berkley School of Music as well. So she's hails in the Boston-ish area, but we're going to say Cape Cod because that's where you grew up. And when Maureen came to Nashville, her career started really exploding in a really interesting way that we're going to talk about today. She's a professional vocalist and a professional singer, rather, I should say, vocalist, vocal instructor. That's recent, actually, isn't it? Where you've started your vocal coaching program as well?
That's right. Yeah. It's been about 7 years now. It's been.
Oh, wow. I thought it maybe just been 2 or 3 years. No, that's been a good bit.
Yeah. I just actually I'm about to come up on my 6-year anniversary.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just was noticing that in my memories today. It's funny that came up.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been going strong.
Well, I love that. That's a really interesting and natural transition, it seems to me, from where you had started, seeing how you were taught at Berkley School of Music. And I love to say that, at Berkeley. You're the only person I know that's ever went to Berkeley. And like you rocked it, because I'm just going to invite everybody to look Maureen Murphy up on any platform and listen to the music that she sings, because it's incredible. Gives me chills every time I hear you sing. And the thing with Maureen is that she's not an out front singer. She is, I like to call her the icing on the cake. So if you have seen someone on tour, you have seen a show on major television network, you've likely seen Maureen standing behind that artist doing all that amazing background vocal work. And that is her forte. She's an amazing collaborator with multiple different people you've worked with. And I'm just going to list off a handful, because your list of people, I didn't know this is that many. I like at least 30 or 40 different people you have listed on your website just because you advertised for your vocal studio. You are a super credible person with Zac Brown Band, Michael Franti, Old Crow Medicine Show, John Mayer, Gladys Knight. Hello. Gavin DeGraw. And guys, she's also performed at Red Rocks Amphitheater. I mean, not just once, a handful of times, by the way. The Ryman, Bonnaroo, Wrigley Field, the Hollywood Bowl, CMA Fest, CMA Awards. The list goes on and on and on and on. And she is dedicated to her craft. Amazing person, amazing singer. So welcome, Maureen Murphy.
Thank you, Dawn. I'm so happy to be here on your show. I'm so happy, so honored, and so grateful to be with you today. Thank you for having me.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. One of my favorite people that I met I don't even want to say how many years ago that we met. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time.
Gosh. But you've been in the music industry now, performer for, did it say like over 30 years? Because that would totally date all of us. Like you've been singing for over 30 years.
Yeah. So I started really honing my craft with help when I was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sort of start my journey at that point. And before that time, of course, I was heavily curious and intrigued with music. And I was always singing around the house when I was a kid. And my mom saw that early on in me. And she asked me just, point blank, hey, would you want to go do a voice lesson and just try it out? And I didn't know what that meant at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I just knew it involved singing and music. And
Yes.
I said yes. And that was pretty much it. I just never stopped wanting to learn about my voice. And I think I had my first like official paid gig when I was 13 years old.
Ah,
And
what was it?
I was invited to a private Christmas party, and it was for a couple that lived in Falmouth, the town that I grew up in, Cape Cod, and they invited me to come sing for their Christmas party for their family, and they had a family gathering, and they took care of me, and paid me and fed me, and it was just like the funnest thing ever. And I just sang Christmas carols for them in their
Oh,
living room, and it was such a special night.
yes. 13
And
years old, I would
13
guess.
years old. Yeah. And that was that. I was
And then
like,
it was like the stamp was on you. You're like, this is what I want to do. Is that when you knew, like, I like this? This is what I want to do?
yeah. And I didn't know it, but I knew it, if that makes any sense.
For sure.
I just knew that I just loved learning about my voice and the craft of music, and I was just so curious to know more, and performing felt very natural for me too. It just
Mhm.
felt like a really incredible way for me to express myself, and I had never found any other ways that singing and performing felt. So
Yeah.
I just wanted that, keep having that feeling as much as possible.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. And if you've ever seen Maureen sing live, that it just oozes out of you. There's a real comfort about the way you perform that comes through. I mean, your music is just I kind of say like it's fluid. Like the melody that flows from your body is just fluid and just it's amazing. But your presence and being live, watching you live, you explain it to a T. It's in you. Yeah, it's just it is a real comfortable way of expression for you. And it makes complete sense that this would be the path that you would go on. After I saw you live the first time, I was like, okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah,
I got it.
yeah,
Yes.
yes. So 13 years old, did Berkeley School of Music like become kind of in the back of your head? Or when did that all come about for you?
So one of my last vocal instructors that I had all through high school, her name is Donna Perpin, and she was a very influential teacher that I had in those formative years. And she was a graduate of Berkeley College of Music, and I never thought I wanted to go to college. I really didn't enjoy grade school. It was really challenging for me,
Mhm.
academically and socially. And I just had in my mind that college would be the same.
Yeah.
And I went to public school, and we really didn't have music at all in school. So I really had nothing to connect, further education with this passion of music that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And, Donna at one point suggested that I audition for a scholarship there. And I really had no plan. I had no plan for other colleges. It sort of seemed like it was almost at the last minute of getting into the audition phase and
Wow.
getting it, into the admissions part of, my freshman year of college. And so it was sort of like, felt like a last resort almost. And I really wasn't excited. I don't remember feeling excited about thinking of going to college, even in that process of auditioning and everything.
Yeah.
But I think my mom was, again, like, really supportive, and she saw
Mhm.
things that I didn't. And so she encouraged us to apply, and then, get it, do the audition. And I did that. And, I didn't have any expectations, but at that point I was hoping that maybe this would work out.
Yes, yeah.
And so thanks to Donna, she was the one that also, really encouraged me to try it out and see if I liked it. And of course, knowing that she went there, and all of her
Mhm.
skills and all of her talent and everything that she was doing for the community that I was growing up in musically just really inspired me. So I thought, well, if she's doing okay, then I'm
I can
probably
do
going to be
this.
all right too.
Yeah, yeah.
So audition went to the audition, and the audition was like, I thought I did great, but my the professor that was in the audition was a little intimidating.
Oh, no.
So I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm not, I don't know. I just left feeling like, I don't know. I
Okay.
did everything I could,
Yeah, yeah. What was that
but
audition like? What did you have to do? I'm interested because I've gone
Mhm.
on auditions before, but not like to be accepted into such a prestigious school of music like that.
Yeah. So from what I recall, we had to sing, I think it was two different songs. One was a contemporary song, and one was, I think, more of a classical.
Mm.
But I feel like it was pretty open to us choosing, the material. There wasn't like a list of songs we had to
Okay.
choose from. So I do remember bringing in one of my songs to the audition, which was a Mariah Carey song, and I grew up on Mariah. She was like one of my biggest influences from a
Yes.
vocal and songwriting standpoint and
Yeah.
an artistic standpoint. What she was doing in that time was just absolutely incredible. So I
Mhm.
brought in a ballad of hers called uh, oh my gosh, Looking In, I think. I
Mhm.
can't remember the name of it now. And I sang that, and I felt very connected to the song, and did I thought the best I could do at the time. And I also think they had us do some sight singing as well.
Okay.
But it was for me, that was like, no, not a good skill set for me.
I don't wanna do that. No,
I was more interested in the contemporary side of things,
Mm,
so
mhm.
I didn't do a lot of, technical sight singing, things like that,
Yeah.
theory when I was in my private voice instruction. So I think I didn't do a great job on that, but as far as the performing, I felt great, and that was really what I wanted to do, and if I did get accepted. So
Yes.
but yeah, so after I sung, the professor had asked me a few questions, like why I chose the songs, and some things like that. And it went by really fast. It was
Okay.
probably a 10-minute audition. And it was just one of those things like, well, let you know,
Oh
and
god. Oh,
I left
yeah.
there.
You walk out going,
Yeah, it's like
okay."
I left there, and, just like, okay, now what,
Yeah, yeah.
But I just, waited, and I think we found out in a week or two that I was accepted, and they did give me a partial scholarship
Oh.
to come. And so I jumped at the chance, and
Yes.
I was still scared, but I felt like that was a sign that, things were going to be
Yeah.
great. And the first week I got there and did orientation, I was just like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, it's so different than where you were, and you talked
Yeah,
about not really feeling like, you know, the traditional line of school worked for you academically or socially. So here you are now in this amazing environment doing what the passion is that you love, doing music alongside other people that are doing the same thing, like-minded,
yeah,
connecting.
yeah. It was really the first time that I'd met people that had the same interests that I
Mm.
did,
Mm.
and it was like from day one. I was like, wow, like I can't believe that there's so many people that share this
Yeah.
love of music. And it was just like, it was just so inspiring um, to have that community and to be around it 24/7. It was just like a dream come true.
Yes, I can only imagine coming from where you came from and what you were just talking about. Absolutely. So how
Yeah.
long were you at Berkeley then? Is it a
So
traditional 4-year program?
I actually no, I went I think the traditional route there is to not finish anything. So that's what I did.
Okay.
I didn't graduate like most people. That's kind of like the joke with Berkeley is like, if you meet um, another Berkeley person, the first thing is like, did you finish?
That's the first question.
The first question, and it's like you're usually like, "Nope, didn't finish."
Not me.
So I didn't graduate, but when I first started, I did a performance major,
Okay.
and I was on course to do a full 4 years, and then I transitioned into something they had called professional music degree, which is sort of like canvassing all of the different things that you can do with music, like education,
Mhm.
performance, songwriting, the production and engineering side of things, music business. Those and music therapy was just at the very beginning
Oh, right.
stages. So we had a little bit of all of those things happening, and there's so much more that they offer now.
Yeah.
But those were sort of the main highlights. And so I switched to that major to get a little bit of everything under my belt. And then I started doing summer uh, courses as well, because I started feeling like after 2 years, I was ready to kind of get into the world of music
Right. Yeah.
and sort of break out of that bubble.
Mhm.
Um, and so I stayed at Berkeley for 3 years total, and didn't finish the degree program, but I did receive a diploma, a certificate
Okay.
from the college. So I'm still hoping that one day I can, sort of check that off my list of
Yes.
accomplishments, and finish up the credits that I need, and then have that degree. But yeah, I feel like I was just ready to get out and to do the work.
Yeah,
And
start putting all of that in play, basically.
yeah, I was really eager to do
I
that.
I
So
can
that's what
imagine.
I started following, was that voice.
So, at that point, was it when you moved to Nashville, or was there something else in between?
There were a few things actually. I ended up moving to New York City after I left Berkeley,
Mhm.
and that was sort of my dream. I like wanted to make it big there and start my career in New York. And so I went there. I found a really amazing apartment in Harlem that was like a sanctuary for me,
Nice.
and started working a retail job pretty much night and day to, just make
To
the
support
rent.
yourself. Mhm.
Yeah. And that was really like the first time I was very much out on my own
Yes,
and
yeah.
independent. I didn't have a community. I didn't have family or friends at
Mhm.
the time. So um, it was like I just had that in my head, and I wanted to go there. And so I had a few gigs, and after about a year, I started to feel very isolated. And
Mm,
it was partly my fault because I really struggled with, going out and being social and finding the music community.
okay.
I've always been very shy and introverted, so that was a really hard thing for me to do. And so I feel like because I didn't spend a lot of time doing that, it really showed me like how, isolating it could be. And I remember
Mhm.
the year I was there, Christmas Day, actually, I was sitting in my room in my apartment, and it was so quiet. And I just remember thinking, this is so lonely. Why am I in like one of the biggest cities in the country and I feel like so alone?
Yeah.
And that was the moment that I said, I need to try something else.
Right.
So I ended up moving out of New York, and I had a very synchronistic connection with an old friend of mine from Berkeley who I became really close with in my freshman year of college. And he was originally from Santa Fe, New Mexico. His name is Craig.
Okay.
Craig Staling. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Craig.
He's a dear friend of mine. And so I actually went to visit Santa Fe for the first time my summer of my freshman year. And
Right.
him and his mom invited me to stay in her home for the summer.
Oh,
And
wow.
I spent about maybe like 2 months of the summer in Santa Fe, and I fell in love with Santa Fe.
Yeah.
So that's like the backstory on Craig. Fast
Okay.
forward to me being in New York, I received a wedding invitation to Craig's wedding. He was marrying his high school sweetheart.
Oh,
And I received the invitation, and the return address on it had said Staten Island. And I was like, wait a second, you're in New York?
you're here?
And we had kind of lost touch for those the 3 or 4 years between his freshman year, my freshman year, and me being in New York.
Yeah.
I had no idea that they were there.
Oh,
And
wow.
I reached out immediately once I got the invitation, and I said, you will never believe this, but I'm here too.
Yes, I'm here. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, I want to connect with some people.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so we made the connection and started, spending time together, which was really great. Him and his fiance, and we would, do fun things around the city together. And then at the same point that I felt like I needed to go, they also were feeling the pull to be somewhere else. And so when I ended up leaving, I ended up helping them move back to Santa Fe.
Okay.
And I pretty much was like, I think I want to be here now. And so I ended up staying in Santa Fe, not really having a plan. And I found a really cute little apartment, and I was there for 2 years. And then, did a lot of healing work, and I met some really dear friends of mine, and then, realized that I needed to move on. It was a really great place for me to really understand what I needed, and just really start to know myself. And after those 2 years, I said, well, I've got to make a choice here for my career, really. And the options for music cities that were left were Nashville or LA.
Right. Yeah. And you were right there near LA. That's interesting.
Really close, yeah. And I never felt a pull there early there in my early years. And I honestly never felt a strong pull to Nashville. I felt like a lot of people, when they first think about Nashville, they have this idea of like, it's just a country music town,
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I didn't want to do country music. So I was like, well, what am I going to do there? I don't know.
Right. I'm going to
Do
be
in
a
a
fish
country
out of
town,
water.
country music
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I had another formative year professor at Berkeley named Donna McElroy. I've got
Okay.
lots of
Another
Donna
Donna.
in my life.
Uh-huh.
And Donna was influential in me coming to Nashville because she had lived here for almost a decade and had done like background singing with
Yes.
Garth Brooks, Winona, Amy Grant, you name it. She was the session call in Nashville.
Do you want to know something interesting?
Yes.
I haven't heard that name in years. And when I first started coming to Nashville and singing and doing session stuff, her name, I heard her name all the time.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I was just like, I knew when you said her name, I was like, oh, I know the person.
Yeah.
Oh,
Donna was
yeah.
Donna was the top of the session world here in that time, and she had transitioned out of Nashville to work and teach at Berkeley, and her first year was my first year.
Okay.
And luckily, she didn't have a full roster at that time because she was brand new.
Mm.
So I was able to get right in on her roster of students,
Mm.
and we started working together, and I was with her my whole time at Berkeley.
Oh, that's a gift. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And so I knew that Donna was successful, and she had always sort of whispered in my ear all the way through, like, you should go to Nashville, you should go to Nashville. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, whatever, I'm going to New York. I'm going to
Country
go to the
music.
Big Apple in New York.
Yes, my dream is not there.
Yeah. So when I was in Santa Fe trying to figure it out, I just could hear Donna whispering, and I listened to it, and I packed up what I could fit in my little silver Toyota Camry and left the rest behind, and that was it. And I didn't know what I was going to do here.
Oh,
I just knew what I was dreaming about, and that's what got me here, and that was in 2002. So I've been here almost as long as where I grew up, which is a little crazy because now I'm gonna have to start saying
that
I'm
you're a
from
regular.
here.
Yeah, you're from here. That was interesting for me too, because it was the same situation. I get to a certain point and I was like, oh, I've been here now a year longer. It dawned on me one day, I've been here a year longer than where I grew up in Ohio.
Yeah,
So now I'm no longer from Ohio. I could say I'm from there originally, but isn't that so interesting? I,
yeah.
I think it's super, super interesting that you're not the only one that I've talked to in the music industry that is like, I think of a Nashville as being country music, but
Mhm.
they're not their genre is not country music as an artist, and they're flourishing here in
Yeah,
Nashville. So it's really
yeah.
eclectic.
It's really amazing. I mean, I think it was definitely like that when I first moved here, but now it's even more. Like, people come here from New York and LA and everywhere else in the country and the world to record. Nashville is like the recording capital of the music industry.
Yes.
And so it's always bringing in that diversity. And I
Mm.
think, before the real estate boom here, people were just like so attracted to living here
Yeah.
because it was so affordable, and it was so much space, and it was so quiet and peaceful. And I mean, I still feel that way about it, but
Yeah. Yeah. You can find your spot here for
you
sure.
can. And I thought that it just brought in so many different genres and so many different artists with
Mhm.
different backgrounds, and it's just like a melting pot of so much music history. It's just amazing. And I think you know the general um the general consensus is like, oh, it's just a country town, but people really don't realize how much is here and how rich it is.
Yes,
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
there's so much opportunity in any genre.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure, for
yeah.
sure. And I think you can go out pretty much anywhere, any day of the week and find music,
Mhm.
not just the country music genre. You'll
Yeah,
find a multitude of different
and
performers. Mhm.
it's so true. And the bar here, as far as the professionalism and what you're going to hear, is so high
So high, yeah.
because people
Mhm.
are really honing their craft here and becoming, the best musicians and the best performers and the best artists in the world. And, you're getting such high quality when you go out to see someone. And it
Yeah,
and it could be in a room with, five other people watching, and it's like the
yeah,
most incredible musicianship on display in any
yeah.
room, any night of the week. It's absolutely phenomenal and
Oh, I love
inspiring to see that.
mhm. Yes. So you
Yeah.
pack up your silver Camry, you
Yeah.
drive from Santa Fe to Nashville without a
Mhm.
plan.
No plan.
What did you do when you first landed here then? What was your first job, your first pop of a light bulb moment? This is what I'm gonna do. Like, tell me what happened when you arrived.
Yeah, I think when I first got here, I was, for searching for, a temporary place to live. I had to find an apartment. And the first day I got here, my mom and I had done some looking online to find an apartment, and it looked great on the screen, but when we got there, it was not a great situation.
Oh no.
So I immediately got in there, and we had, she had helped me get it rented out and all that stuff. And I paid my first month's rent, and I got into it, and I was just like, I can't do this. This is not how I can live.
Yeah.
So I found another place and got settled in there about a week later, and got all that figured out. And then I started working at the Hermitage Hotel, actually, because I had a lot of hospitality experience. I worked at a hotel in Santa Fe for those couple of years, and I really liked being in hospitality in the hotel business. It was really fun to be in a service role in that way, and rewarding, actually. And so they had just started the Hermitage had just started the process of hiring their first team after they did the renovation. I don't know if your listeners will be interested in the history behind the Hermitage Hotel, but if you're interested, go look it up. It's really, really cool. It's
Extremely
amazing.
intriguing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing piece of Nashville history.
Yeah.
And so they had a new owner had come in and bought this building that had been in disrepair. It's on the historic registry. It's an amazing property, and they were hiring a new team to open the hotel back up after it had been renovated and restored. And so I went in for an interview and was really excited about it. Their goal was to become Tennessee's first 5-diamond hotel.
Okay.
So it was the first 5-star, hotel that I had been a part of the team.
Yeah.
And it was really exciting. And that was my day job. And I worked at the Hermitage Hotel for 7 years. I sort of worked my way up. I started basically at the front desk, and then started doing more reservation type work, and became a reservation manager, and then went into revenue management. And so my last position there was the revenue manager of the hotel. And that job, once I started to work my way up, that job afforded me time and financial freedom, where I could go do my gigs at night and perform, and I could take opportunities that maybe didn't pay a lot, or were more like exposure gigs, which I'm absolutely against now. I didn't know at the time, and I tell my clients
don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
But at the time I didn't know. And so but it gave me the Hermitage gave me the opportunity to really have the time and the financial resources to do my music more part-time, but I was still able to be active and get myself out in the community here. And I didn't have to worry about scraping pennies together, because as most musicians know, it's hard to make a living just doing music. And so that was a hard thing. And it's okay if you have to go get a job and supplement, and I also tell my clients, don't be ashamed if, you have to do that. It's just part of the work. And, one day you won't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. It's a process, because I always say that you could swing a dead cat and throw it and hit a musician, a songwriter, a singer, because there's so many of them here. And I think when I was involved in it, that whole doing it for exposure was everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
because they were willing to be, hey, I'll do anything
Mm-hmm.
to get this this opportunity to be seen by these people, or to be heard by these people. And it has ultimately would come with a price for them personally too, because
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that as a musician, you want to make sure that you're doing your craft and honoring yourself with it. But there's a real interesting line about where is it that you're doing too much, giving too much
Yeah.
out versus, protecting what your craft is for you and saying, this is what I'm worth. And I think that there's probably a lot of people, I mean, like it's when you're starting, like where you were, that you
Exactly.
have to go through that period and go, all right, I got to figure out what is it? What is it that I'm worth? What is it that I'll do? What is it that I
Exactly.
won't do? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to make those choices, and I still do to this day.
Mm. Mhm.
As we were talking before we started, the podcast today, we were chatting about this, and
Mm.
it's ever evolving. You have to really, be honest with yourself and think about that initial response that you get in your mind when someone asks you to do something, and that's what you know, you usually end up choosing is that first reaction and
Yes.
listening to that and honoring that and not feeling like you're going to miss out on something.
Yeah, that's the fear of missing out is like that's just so prevalent across the board for so many things in life. But
Hmm.
I think as a musician, specifically someone that's really trying to make it in this business and that really needs that financial boost behind them, gosh, it's a slippery slope for them to have to figure out what works and what doesn't work for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think that's still happening today as it was like in
Yes,
2002 when you arrived?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
More so
Absolutely.
or about the same?
I would probably lean on the side that maybe it's more because
Mm.
we do have more people in our community now than we did in 2002. So, it's there's less. Oh, I hate to use this saying. There's less opportunity because there's more people.
Yeah.
But I do believe that there's opportunity for everyone.
Mhm.
But I think that it can be really challenging when you're first getting here to not say no, because you want people to know you're available and you want to be the first in line, the first call,
Yes.
and I'm sure that now it may feel a little bit more competitive in that way, but I do feel like the Nashville music community is not a competitive community. So
Okay.
I say that, very lightly. I say
Yes.
that with a lot of caution because the Nashville community, at least in my experience, has been very open and welcoming
Mm.
and helpful and building each other up. And it's not about, I'm going to be the first one in line.
Yeah.
It's, hey, how can I help you? I have this thing going on. Now I'm in a position where I can give you a hand, and
Yeah.
that's what we're going to do.
Paying it
So
forward for sure.
yeah, and I think if people realize that more,
Mm.
I think that, it would just be more abundance of opportunity and saying yes to things that really feel good and
Mm.
connected. And
Mhm.
they're and I think that's happening in our community all the time, which is really just such a beautiful
Yeah.
thing to be a part of,
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
think that's been, one of your biggest blessings and everything, that community support?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I've had so many people champion me. One of my dear friends from college, Matt Mangano, he was the first person that I would sort of lean into when I first moved to Nashville. He also moved here the same year, about a month or two before I did,
Yeah.
and he was sort of my rock here for a long time. I mean, he still is to this day, but Matt was and is the type of person that puts your name in rooms when you're not there.
Oh, I love that.
And he
Love
did that for me and still does to this day. And
it. Mm.
it's just like those are the kinds of people that are here in this town, and whenever I can do that, I'm doing that with all of my colleagues that I love so dearly. And, any chance I get, I want to be in that position of paying it forward
Yeah.
and hopefully opening an opportunity up to someone that, can't be there and, and to get that opportunity, but just to say, hey, like you need to call this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know this person, but you can trust me, and like whoever I'm going to send your way is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And every time
Yeah.
it's like it works every time.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I was just going to say, it's a trust thing too. Like you've gained that
Mhm.
trust from this community. You've been involved in it for so long, but you're an integrous person as well. I think it's really interesting because as you talk and as I know you from the past, you tend to be kind of quiet, kind of reserved, in your space. Would you call yourself an introvert or an extrovert if you had to guess?
Definitely an introvert, as you know.
So, but the funny thing about that for me is that there are so many people that are introverted in that way that are in the public eye, like that are in front of hundreds and thousands of people and that use something as there's a vehicle that they're presenting themselves in that way, but yet they're very, very introverted. What can you explain a little bit about what that might be for you? Because it's super different, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm always fascinated because when I'm out and I'm not doing music and I'm just in the world, as we do, I find myself being very, like you said, reserved, very quiet, very soft spoken, don't want any attention brought to myself, like for sure. And but for some reason when I'm on a stage, I don't know what it is. I think I really find my way of expressing myself there.
Mm.
That's really where I feel safe enough to be vulnerable and
Wow.
share this part of myself that gets really quiet during the normal times,
Wow. That's really
and
interesting. I mean, I would imagine we could set a multitude of professional singers right beside you and they would say the same thing.
yeah, it's so interesting. Like I would really love to know like how the brain lights up in that way,
Oh, right.
when we're on a stage and what it is that gives us those feelings. But I don't know. I just feel like I've always struggled to express myself off the stage, but when
Mhm.
I'm on the stage, I feel like that's when people can truly understand who I am and
Yeah.
they can see someone with, confidence and power. And I don't necessarily feel that way off the stage all the time. I mean, I do feel that way, but like not outwardly. It's a quiet confidence. It's a quiet, person that is off the stage. And so, yeah, I've just always felt really connected on the stage, and all again, like also this just un like I don't even it's undescribable, but the curiosity that I want and feel in being on a stage is just so deep for me, and I want to learn about
Mhm.
it, how to be a better performer, how to be
Mhm.
more connected to the song or the music, and how can I give that to the audience. And there's also this newer realization that performing is a give and take. I used to always think
Okay.
it was giving,
Okay. Yeah.
and I learned through performing through different actually through the Red Rocks. The first time I played Red Rocks, I had this uh experience where I learned that it was a give and take,
Mm.
and that was revolutionary for me. I had
Mm.
never thought about performing in that way, and it was like, wow. And you were saying this earlier about there's a part of you that has to stay protected in that giving, and
Yeah.
That was like the first time in my life where I really had to sit with that and
Yeah.
recognize that and look at that. And it really changed how I started to take performing on. But anyways, yeah, I think that I feel alive when I am on a stage, and that's the highest expression of myself when I'm up there.
Wow.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful, and that you know that about yourself now. And I guess, it's time and experience will teach you a lot of stuff for sure.
It will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, because your experience mainly has been collaborating, backing
Mhm.
folks up as a background vocalist in the studio or on stage, traveling on tour as that supplemental voice that supports the main drag, basically, if you will.
Mhm.
So, is there anything inside of you that desires to be something more than just that? Or do you feel like your piece in that puzzle is really where you shine, where you really feel connected, where you really desire to be?
I think it's changed for me over the years. When I first started out, especially when I was at Berkeley and then moved to New York, I had this vision that I wanted to be an artist and the lead singer and
Mhm.
be the lead in the band and all of these things. And that I did that for a long time. And it did feel great. I love doing that. And I still love doing that today. But as I grew into my career, it's a different skill set to sing background vocals. And I really just back up. I really just was, again, like curious about that skill set.
Yeah.
I knew a lot about leading a band, and I knew a lot about putting a band together and shows together and what that was like as a lead singer.
Yeah.
I did that all through college and in high school. And so I knew what that was, but being a background singer is so different. And one of the things that really stuck out for me was to be in that supporting role just came for me with a lot of kind of going back to that service, um, element. Being of service to an artist
Uh-huh.
has always felt really connected to me,
Okay.
and making them feel this comfort when they're performing is one of the like main attractions, I think, when I'm singing background for someone.
Yes.
Knowing that like they can trust me and they don't have to, that's like one less thing that they have to worry about.
Absolutely.
And it's going to add this layer of the performance, to the performance and to the artistry. And when that fits together, it's magic,
Yes.
just like when you've got the musicians and that same connection between artist lead vocals and the guitar player or the drummer, like
Mhm.
those
Mhm.
connections are really important, being in those supportive roles. And I really enjoy being in that position. And
Yeah.
it's also a really great challenge of how to use your voice.
Mhm.
You have to be a chameleon of sorts and have a lot of different tools in your instrument, which I find really fun
Mhm.
to work on.
It's never the same. Like,
It's never the same.
it can be the same kind of thing, but it's never ultimately the same. So you're always expressing and searching for something different inside of yourself to make that magic happen and to make it all kind of come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of fuses the best of both worlds, as I said earlier about, being the center of attention. When you're the lead vocal, you're the center of attention.
Yeah.
But it comes with a lot of, it comes with a lot of weight with
Yes.
it. But when you're singing behind someone, you sort of get to experience, being like off to the side, but you're still getting the benefit of being up there and
Yeah.
still feeling all of the goodness that comes from performing, and you're not being scrutinized every second.
Yeah. Yes.
you
You're
know
a piece of the recipe, but you're not like the meat and potatoes of the casserole. You're
right.
like the spices of the casserole, if you will.
Yeah, you're not up for judgment, and
Yeah.
so that can be a really good a good place to be, because you get to see everything sort of from this zoomed out view. And you also get to really enjoy your part in the recipe.
Right.
It's like
Right.
it's just such a cool perspective when you're supporting in that
Mhm.
way. So I really enjoy that about background singing, and just all the places that it can take you. And that's the other part too, is that you get to sing with lots of different people and lots of genres, and you're not just honed in on one thing.
Yeah. Like
So
in
it
one
keeps
specific line for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so it really keeps things, interesting and fun and new and fresh.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of things I really enjoy about singing behind someone. So I've just really grown into that, and I think that there's still a part of me that wants to be an artist and wants to put my own music out. I do write songs
Mhm.
occasionally. I used to write a lot when I was younger, and I have a lot of things in my catalog, but I've never dared to record it and put it out in the world,
Oh,
because
wow. You
it's
should.
it's hard. It's a really hard thing to be an artist and to put things out, especially in this day and age, because
Yeah, I get that.
you don't get to find the joy in releasing in music, and I releasing music, excuse me. It can be really challenging, and I see this with my clients all the
Okay.
time. They put all of this investment, energy, time, money into making one song, recording it, and then putting it out, and then it not getting enough streams, or it not getting enough attention on TikTok or things like
Mhm.
that. That's where the industry is sort of geared now for a breaking artist.
It's
And it
TikTok.
it
Yeah.
can be really devastating,
Yeah.
and I tell all my clients, like, please celebrate this before any of that. Take your time to, like, enjoy the fact that you created something and that you invested in this, and that you had the courage to put it into the world,
Yeah.
all against all of the fear, because there's
Yeah.
so much fear that goes into all of that,
Right.
the
And get
layers of
to the
fear.
well, and get to the base of what it is that you really enjoy about it. What got you started in it?
Mhm.
Where's that passion still? Because it has it been, has it been kind of doubted? Has it been covered up? If you could get back to that beginning stage of why it is that you started, what's your why for it?
Mhm.
Then a lot of times that can, okay, yeah, it can help when you're not succeeding as quickly as you had imagined that you would, or
Yeah.
thought that you should,
Yeah.
because then that just creates a whole other definition of success, because you're not relying
True.
on other people for your success. You're going inside to yourself and saying, okay, look, I did that. Like, I created that out of my passion and out of my gift. And yeah, the fear thing that you talked about, there's so much of it for putting that stuff out there, because it's vulnerable stuff. Like,
Totally.
music that you write, and then like hearing you talk about the parallels between being introverted and kind of quiet and kind of to yourself when you're not on stage, and then seeing you on stage is a whole different dynamic, and being able to exist in that space somewhere, but doing your job and your craft with no fear, and really being able to dive into that vulnerability and deliver that message and that expression to people like you do is, yeah, I think that's really a beautiful gift. Obviously it's a huge gift for you, but I think it's that your students are very lucky that they have you in their corner, because that's a real, um, gosh, that's a real sense. That's a real defining piece for a lot of people, I think, that we sometimes miss in our world of, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. This is what success is. This is what it's not. This is what success is. This is what it's not.
Mhm.
Comparing, somebody said this last week, comparison is the thief of all joy, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
I'm
really
curious to
is.
know, with all of the people that you've performed behind, who's been your favorite so far?
Mhm. Man, that's a hard one to answer. I think that, probably I'm gonna probably say Gladys Knight.
Gosh, yes.
Man, and it really was just more about like being in her world, like
Yeah.
for
Like
5
being
minutes.
in her presence. Yeah. Yes.
So I hope that I don't get in trouble for saying this, but so our first meeting, we performed on the CMA Awards a few years ago with her, and when I say we, it was myself, one of my dear friends and colleagues, Jason Eskridge, who's a phenomenal vocalist, and also Devin Folks. She's also an incredible vocalist in town, and we work together a lot. And Jason actually hired both myself and Devin for this.
Okay.
He was contracted to put a group of singers together to back her up, and we were doing a medley with a couple other artists as well. But so imagine we're at the Bridgestone Arena. We're here for our dress rehearsal. This is the first time we're actually meeting Gladys. We did have previous rehearsals without her. So
Okay.
this is the first day we're meeting. We're all freaking out because, Jason and Devin, of course, we're professional singers. We've been doing this our whole lives.
Yes.
So Gladys is one of our biggest like inspirations, musical
Yeah. You're like,
heroes. She's an
oh,
icon. I mean, anything, global icon. I mean, this woman has changed music history. I mean,
right.
it's just, I could talk about it all day. But we're sitting and waiting for her to walk in the door any second. We're all just like so nervous. And
Oh my gosh.
also our keyboard player, Ty Bailey, was on the gig, and we were just going to run through the vocals with her just to make sure like everything felt good for her before we went in with the full band. So we're all waiting around, we're probably in there for like 45 minutes, and everyone is just like, chewing their nails and
Right.
pacing the floor.
Right.
And, we're all just like, what is she going to be like? And she comes in the door, and she's got her sunglasses on, like really, classic blacked out Ray-Bans, and
Yeah.
just looking so classic and cool. She's got a pantsuit on with a royal blue suit blazer jacket on, black pants, and just looking so cool and sleek.
Yeah.
And she's holding a tiny like snack sized bag of Doritos. And she's walking in like eating the Dorito, like nacho cheese, classic flavor.
Yes.
And she drops one on the floor, and she's just walking in. And I like immediately I was just like, this is my girl. Like
It's not good.
This is
I'm
my woman.
good.
Like I'm with my best friend. Like and then she, was just making jokes, and like she was just like, yeah, this is my warm up. I have Doritos, and I forget what else she said, but and then we ran through the song with her, and she was so complimentary and just such a sweet person, and just really kind to us, and always had a smile on her face. Like it just was. She just had this really beautiful presence about her.
Yeah.
And also just like such a humbleness and a gratefulness that you could just feel like oozing out of her.
Yes.
And so it was less about the actual performance than just being in her energy.
Yeah.
And realizing like, that there's that saying, like, don't meet your idols, because you'll probably get disappointed.
Oh no. You weren't disappointed.
This is the opposite of that. It was just like, wow, like this is music royalty. And I've met other people that don't have near as much accolades or music, credentials and history. And, they're just not good people,
Right.
And here's someone that has shaped, a whole generations of musicians, vocalists, artists, records, like
Everything you can name.
Yeah. And she's just like the most special person, you'd ever be around. So yeah, I would say she's pretty
right
up on the list.
Yeah.
She's up there. She's on the top.
what was your favorite place to play? Like, obviously you've been at Red Rocks, you've been at Bonnaroo, you've been at Wrigley Field. Was that with Zac Brown Band? Wrigley
Yeah,
Field?
when I toured with Zach, we got to play these just phenomenal places. And he does a lot of baseball parks and things like that
Yeah.
during the summertime, the spring and summertime months. So yeah, we get to play a lot of ballparks. I would say the absolute number one top of the list by far would be Fenway Park.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
we got to play there twice, and both times we had 3 nights at the venue. And
Oh,
so technically I've played there like 6 times if you want to count them up. But
yes. And I would count all 6 of
yeah,
those for sure.
yeah, and so when I was a kid, Fenway was in Boston, so it
Yeah.
was our backyard, and we were all Red Sox fans, and
Yeah.
to this day, it's like you have to be a a Boston fan if you're born in
Yes.
Massachusetts.
Yes. It's
You
a
don't have a choice.
prerequisite. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I had dreamed about singing there, when I was a kid, and I was like, I always have had a dream. I still have this dream of singing the national anthem there. And I thought that was the only way that I was going to be able to sing there.
Oh gosh.
And when I was asked to do this tour, that was like the big dream bucket list gig for me.
Yes.
And it's just such an amazing venue. People don't think of it like as a concert venue, but it's one of the most incredible places to play and to look out and see all of those people and do it in your hometown. It's just
Wow.
absolutely incredible feeling.
Well, I think too, in listening to you talk about that, like you thought, oh, that's kind of like your bucket list place to play. And you thought you would be doing the national anthem there. And look, look at how much
I
bigger
mean, yeah.
it was there. I think that's a real testament to staying open to the flow of whatever's going to happen
Mhm.
and just saying it's not that you didn't work for it because you've worked very, very hard at what you do, but you've also gone into it with a state of allowance of, I'm going to allow this to flow to me. I'm going to trust the process that I'm in and not pigeonholing yourself into one specific, it has to be like this. This is my
Yeah.
expectation. It's going to be like this. This is what it looks like. This is how it's going to happen. And in doing that, you look the doors that you opened for yourself. Look at what you allowed to come to you. I heard somebody on the radio this morning talk about manifestation, and they were like, I think that's kind of garbage. And I understood what they were saying because a lot of people will go into, you want to manifest something large or something minuscule, whatever it is. It's great to put it out there and that's what you want to have a goal, but you also have to work to get to that point. And a lot of people miss that middle step.
Mhm.
But you also have to have that piggybacked allowance of, hey, it's probably not going to show up the way I am thinking it through in my head. And I'm going to allow it to be what is the best fit for me and to get to this end goal. So I really think, yeah, you've just done a really, really good job of that in your career and allowing that to unfold. I know, as knowing you, that it's not always been easy for you to do that, and it's not always been easy for you to be okay with where things are. Undoubtedly, I mean, that makes complete sense to me because it's such a passion. And listening to you talk about it today, such a big part for you that has been there since you were 10 years old when you had your first voice lesson. So I'm interested to know what has been the biggest challenge for you to date through all this music and everything that you've gone through.
Yeah, I think, to back up, I just want to thank you because, you were such an integral part of my healing journey. I mean,
Oh,
you started it all for me, and I was looking for someone, and you manifested in my life before I knew what manifesting was.
oh, well, thank you, Mo.
And I just put it out there in the world, that I was looking for someone to help me along my journey. And I was really in a hard place when I met you, from an emotional, spiritual, physical, everything, intellectual. I was really having a difficult time. And, I remember our first time we met, and you had given me a Louise Hay affirmation that said, I love myself just the way I am.
Oh,
And that was like one of the many takeaways that I had from our first meeting. And that stuck with me. And, you said to me that I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself this 10 times for the next, 6 weeks.
yeah.
And you said, this is going to feel really challenging. You're going to squirm, and you're going to make faces at yourself when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and you're not going to like it, but just trust me.
Oh,
Just keep doing the work, keep doing it. And we'll meet back in 6 weeks. And, like, sure enough, I listened to what you said, and I did it, and I started to believe in it. And that was really the beginning of me, affirming things in my life and manifesting them. And so, I mean, I owe you so much and give you
oh,
so much
girl.
credit, because I mean, I honestly would not be here without that. I wouldn't be where I am, because all of that turned into, the core of that was self-love and
Yeah.
self-worth. And I didn't know what that was until I met you.
Oh, you're so
And
sweet. I
those
will.
concepts,
There's,
I never knew what that was. And
mhm.
that turned into, well, if I can do this in myself, what could I do with my career? What could I do with my relationships? What could I do? And I would write those things down, and I would, say, like, I want to go on tour with Zac Brown Band. I mean, I could show anyone my, my manifestation journals from all of those years back, and it would just be so inspirational for people. It is for me, because I get to see it in real time. But
Yeah.
like, all of that started because of you. And so, I mean, I would point back to this to answer your question. The hardest, I think one of the hardest parts for me was just believing that that it was possible,
Yeah. Yeah.
and having the faith and trusting, and to really amplify the hardest thing, I think, is being patient and knowing that it's going to happen. You just
Mhm.
have to wait for it. It's not going to come in the time that you want it to normally.
Right.
Sometimes you get surprised, but most of
Yeah.
the time it's just like the waiting and just sowing the seeds, and knowing, when to harvest.
Yeah.
And that, I think that was really one of the hardest parts of the journey, was just trusting the process
Mhm.
and waiting, and having faith in the tools that I was given. And just, every day, choosing to love myself,
Yeah.
choosing to, believe in my gifts, um and believe, more importantly, just believe in myself. So
Mm.
yeah, that was really the hardest part. And I, like I said, I just give you all the credit, because
Oh,
you were just such an integral part of that journey, and getting me to a place of where I could really see the possibilities of
oh,
life and love, and anything, So yeah, thank you.
oh, well,
So
you're
grateful.
so welcome. And I feel that people come into our lives to support all of us at different points. So your presence is a gift to me too, just FYI. So that give and take you talked about, there you
Mm,
yeah, there you go. And it's a that at the root of so many different things for so many of us is that self-acceptance piece.
mhm.
And I think it's interesting because you said it just a little bit ago. You have to continually choose to accept yourself. You have to continually choose to believe in what it is that you're working towards. And I think that's one of the big steps in the manifestation process that we kind of miss sight of.
Mm-hmm.
So with you journaling and writing down the things and your goals and the stuff that you want to do, without that piece, because you did it, like that's your work. I mean, you had to do a lot of hard work on accepting yourself as you are with what you have and meeting yourself where you were and being okay with that. And that saying, I am good enough. I am enough. What I'm doing right now is enough.
Yeah.
And if I can't accept myself fully, then how can I really bring my gift out and expect other people to really see me and really
Mm-hmm.
get what it is that I'm trying to deliver? So yeah, you did the work. You did the work. That mirror work stuff is hard. I remember, woof, right? I remember one of my mentors telling me that in therapy, and she was like, "So yeah, so you're gonna go home and you're gonna look at yourself in the mirror, eyeball to eyeball." And I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
I could hardly look at her when she was telling me to do it. I was like, this is gonna be hard. But it's very transformational when you can really dive in and start doing those pieces of work. And yeah, everybody's heard it, peeling the layers of the onion. There's always
Yeah.
another layer to come up, but it gets easier.
Yeah.
It just gets easier. Yeah. What would you say is the most unglamorous thing about being in the music industry at this point?
I would say that the venues that we play most of the time are very, dingy and dirty. And, I remember when I was with Zac, it was always hit or miss. You could always judge a venue by the way that, the green room was.
Okay.
And so with Zac, in Zac's case, we were playing at these arenas and these huge places, that accommodate, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 people. And, you go in, you get off the bus and, we either had, hotel rooms or venue showers to get ready in.
Oh my. Yes. I know
And
what you're
so,
gonna
yeah, you just never knew what you were going to get.
say.
And I remember one venue we played. It was an arena, and that we got into our shower, and it was just like no hot water, and
Oh,
the shower curtain was moldy, and
oh.
it was just like, oh God, I can't do this.
Like,
And
what
that's
is
that's
this?
that's like 9 times out of 10 the experience that people
Wow.
don't realize. Like,
Yeah.
the biggest part, like the greatest part of, getting to where you're playing that night is like how great of a shower you're gonna have, and you
If I
just
get a
don't
good
know.
shower,
You
I'm
never know what it's gonna be. Or the bed, the bed can be a thing too. But
for sure.
typically we have an escape with our bunks on the bus. But
Okay.
most touring acts, when they bring out supporting band, the bus won't have a shower, so that's
Mhm.
why we have to go into the venues. And so, yeah, if people really think it's glamorous, but it's always just like you have to adapt so much every single day. And imagine if you're an introverted person or someone who needs to have things in a certain way,
Right?
it just totally flips you on your head. So it's so much adapting, it's so much adjusting and just
Mhm.
going with the flow, which can
Yeah.
be really tough sometimes. Day after day you're just like, I just want to be in my bed and
Yeah,
my
you just want
shower.
your space
And
and your shower. You just want your shower.
yeah,
I think people
so
would find it really interesting that like these large artists that are playing like 20, 30, 40, 50,000 seat venues have moldy shower curtains that
oh
they
yeah,
might be dealing with
it's
before they come out there on
It's
stage.
wild. It's wild. And some venues that are small and family owned or whatever, like, will have the most amazing green
Yeah,
rooms. And
totally
y-
different story.
yeah, and immediately when you walk into it, like, who cares and who doesn't,
Oh, right.
And people don't realize too, like, the owners of these venues, like, that's our respite when we get to a
Mhm.
venue and we get to the green room. That's where we can unplug for a moment and find a little bit of solace. And when it's dirty or when it's just small or in a closet. Like, I mean, there's been so many green rooms where, you know, there's wait staff coming in and out because they have to get like, you know, napkins or something for the
Yeah.
tables. I mean, it's just
You're in a
crazy.
closet.
Yeah, it's literally a closet, a storage room or whatever. And that's where you get to hang out for, you know, 5 or 6 hours of your day
Yeah.
and try to do a show and feel, you know,
Feel good.
it's weird. It's a weird life.
Yeah. What's
that
been
we
the
live.
best green room that you've been in? Because I know you've also been like you've performed on Jimmy Kimmel and all of the late night shows as well. What has been your favorite green room?
Okay, well, speaking of Kimmel, it's definitely hands down Jimmy Kimmel backstage. It's more than a green room. He has like they have like probably 5 green rooms. There's one for every guest that he brings on, and then they have this lounge in the middle of everything, so people can come together and congregate. And it's like a hotel lobby. It's like velvet sofas and this exquisite wallpaper and these beautiful sconces and chandeliers. I mean, it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And um, plenty of room to spread out. Every green room has a beautiful bathroom shower. I mean, it's luxury all the way.
That's nice. That's
I would say
so nice.
I would say for a venue, one of the nicest places I remember going into was ISIS Music Hall in Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They have a beautiful venue. It's a venue and a restaurant, and their green room, it wasn't anything like special, but it was clean, and they had like snacks for us and all of the things that you need, like an iron, a steamer. Like you didn't have to ask for anything. That's the best part, is when you don't have to ask for anything and your needs are anticipated and you can really feel that.
Yeah.
And it just was cozy. They had a piano in there. But at the time when I was touring there, it was a fairly new venue. So everything just felt like really nice and clean. And so it was, I sound like a clean freak, but I kind of am. So.
Well, it's okay.
You get like that after you tour, because you're like,
right after you've seen so many places that are just
it's hard to be away from the creature comforts, you know. And I think any touring artist would agree, you know, it's really challenging way to live. But there's been some really beautiful places. Honestly, the Ryman has always felt really great. That would be second on my list of favorite places to play. And they always have really nice, you know, surroundings. Also, it's a little bit wonky because like it's an old building, so they don't have like all of the green rooms on one level, so you have to kind of go up and down a lot. But that's the hardest part about that venue. But they're always so accommodating and always have what you need in there, and their green room space is really cozy and nice. So I
think people would just be so totally shocked to know what the behind the curtain stuff is. Because you know, like your job is to put on this show and to make it just a really great experience for everybody that's paid money to come and see the artists play. But if you knew the backstory,
it's brutal. It can be really brutal. And I'm always like, club owners, please, you know, like, please recognize. I think just a lot of people don't understand that part of it being a place of rest for us. And you know, when you're not touring with a big artist and you're touring in a van, it's like, you know, that's the thing that you're looking forward to the most, is when you land and you have a place to sit and put your things down, you know, somewhere. It's a really important part of preparing for, you know, doing a show and getting your head right and your heart right. And I think that it can be a missing piece of the puzzle when you're talking about what it is to be a touring performing artist.
Yes, I totally understand that. You have to get yourself grounded. You have to get yourself there, get yourself
Yeah.
present for what it is that you're getting ready to do.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So, what is next for you on your agenda? What do you have coming up? What do you have in the next, like, what's on your horizon? Maybe I should ask, what's your next goal? What's your next manifestation thing that you're headed towards?
Yeah, that's a hard question. I think that I've been sort of, this year has been a sort of transitional one for me as far
Mhm.
as like touring. I came off the road this year officially, from any long, tours that took me away from home for more than, a few days.
Right.
And so this year I've just been settling into what that feels like. And that was my goal for this year, was to get off the road
Mhm.
and to settle in at home. And to be honest, I don't know what's next. I think I still, like I hinted before, I still feel a draw to start working on some of the music that I've kind of put on the back burner
Yes.
and get recorded and work through that process of, fear. It's definitely something I'm afraid of more than anything
Yeah.
in my life. And so it's a lot there. And so I would say that that's my goal. I really feel like I want to leave behind my voice in more, other ways, I guess, not
Mm.
more ways, but other ways than
Yeah.
just singing background, on other people's records. And not to say anything, negatively about that. I just feel this pull to want to sort of create some legacy around my lead vocal
Yes.
persona. So that's something I've been thinking about a lot. Um and I think for me the biggest thing is relationships. I think that would be a goal for me next year, is to really nurture and get back to more time with people that are really special in my
Mm.
life. And I think that as a musician, as an artist, when you're doing um, your career, it takes so much time away from, nurturing
Mm.
those formative and foundational relationships that you have in your life. So
Yes.
that's one thing I'd like to do more of going into the new year, and making more time, carving out more time in the days to spend with the people that you love and
It's
and
perfect.
cherish. Yeah.
Those are great goals to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because both of them represent a lot of vulnerability.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're gonna
Yes.
be stepping off stage into a different role, if you will. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it all
Yeah.
day, girl. Oh gosh. I want to wrap up our conversation today with some fun rapid fire questions. Are you good with that?
I'm good with that. That sounds
Okay.
fun.
These are fun and there's no wrong answers, but it just helps to kind of give a little bit more of we're going to pull the introvert out of you. We're going to make you an extrovert for the next 5 questions or so. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Here we
Let's
go.
do
Number
it.
one. What pizza topping is your go-to?
I would say onions.
Oh, I love it. Red onions or white onions?
Probably red. Probably
Okay.
red. Yeah.
The more the better.
The more the better. Yes.
It's my daughter and I, like, we'll make like these little homemade pizzas at home, and
Yes.
she's like, "How much onion do you want?" And so like, I'm like, "Pull 2 of them out because you're
All
gonna
of
have
the
one and I'm
onions.
gonna have one." It's really crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
good onions. Okay, number 2. Are you this I probably know the answer to this one already. I don't know why I said this, but are you an early bird or a night owl?
I'm a night
Yes,
owl.
you're a musician. I should have
I'm a
known that.
night owl. Yep.
Yes. What's your wake up time, your ideal wake up time in the day?
Well, to be honest, I like back in the day, I'd probably say 10 a.m. But
Oh,
now that I'm older, I just naturally wake up early. So I would
okay.
say like I'm usually up by 7, but
Yeah.
ideally, I would probably say 8 o'clock. If my body let me sleep, 8 o'clock wake up time would probably be
Okay.
perfect.
I would love an 8 o'clock wake up time every day.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
One day. My body clock will do the same thing. All right.
Yes.
Number 3. What language would you pick if you could learn it instantly?
Italian.
Ah, yeah.
Definitely.
Have you been to Italy or been
I've
overseas?
never been. It's on my list though.
Yes. Maybe you go there this next year.
Yeah.
Vacate with the people that are special to you.
Yes, I've been talking with my boyfriend, Joe Trenicosti, all the time about us traveling abroad and just going to these different places. And I would add that to my goal list of next year. Is I really want to travel more with him and have those experiences with him and with friends and others. You know, like I love traveling and would just love to start checking things off the bucket list.
And get your passport ready because
I know.
Happening. I'm telling you, it's
telling Joe, like, you got to do it. Go get your passport.
You haven't gotten your passport yet?
I've got mine, but Joe has not gotten his yet. And I keep on him about it. Like, we got to do this, you know?
Needs to do it before the end of the year so that it's ready for your trip next year.
Exactly. So, yeah. Come on, Joe.
Just tell him. Just have a conversation with him tonight. No big deal. Hey, we're going to Italy next year. No big deal.
We're going to Italy. Got to get it.
Okay. Number 4. If you could time travel, which era would you visit?
That's such a hard one. Goodness. I don't know. I would probably say maybe the 40s. Okay. And the reason I say that is because I had the chance to meet my grandfather and be meeting my parents like while they were babies. That
when
would
they were little and then younger.
That would be really cool.
Oh wow! I hadn't thought about like what as they were formatively meeting each other. Maybe kind of be a fly on the wall.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool.
I also feel like your voice would fit really well as a singer in that era too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, the music that was being made then would be really amazing to be a part of.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You would be at the top of that one. Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll just transport you back there for a period of time and then you come back here. Yeah,
cool.
All good. We'll make that happen. We'll make that happen in 2024 as well.
Yeah, time travel is real.
Yes. All right. Last question. I won't bug you anymore with these. If you could go back and visit your 16-year-old self, what message would you deliver to her?
I would just, tell her it's going to be okay. Everything that you're dreaming about is going to come true.
Yeah.
Just hang on, Yeah.
And be patient.
Yeah. Be patient. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, Mo, I love talking to you. You're one of the most brilliant people. And God, I've said it earlier and continue to say it. I love your voice. And you are spot on when you talk about your delivery and like emoting and being vulnerable with it and just letting it flow. If you ever have an opportunity, folks, to see her perform live, Maureen Murphy, please do it. And if you don't, I'm going to strongly encourage you to download some music by her because you will not be disappointed at all. It's stunning music from a stunning individual. So
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I have loved getting to talk to you today.
Me too. Thank you for having me again. It's been such an honor.
Oh, you're so sweet. It's been an honor. The honor's all mine, girlfriend. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen.
All right. Thank you, Dawn.
Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. If you have an idea for an interview or you would like to share your own story, I would love to hear from you. Send me a message at dawn@thesoulgoals.com. If you enjoyed today's podcast, I'd love for you to leave a review and to consider following and subscribing to the show. With weekly releases, there is always another interesting story to be heard. I do hope that today's guests and their words have helped to bring some extra light to your day and encouraged you to find a deeper space of your very own soul goals. Until next time, friends, remember that everyone has a story, and every story matters.